It's another great moment we're having here. Welcome to Political Stew. We're looking at the front pages on aleda.com today, and looking at the website, we have just one man, or better still, two men occupying the front page on aleda.com, and we'll come back to them. But if you grew up in Nigeria and some other parts of West Africa, you must, be used to the animal called grass cutter. I decided for the first time when I heard about a contract, of a humongous sum to clear the grass. But don't you worry, we'll come back to all of that. But again, when I had the grass cutting, some sort of contract, I decided to go check again if what we were calling grass cutter at that point in time as young children, growing up, was actually the right name. Boy, you just wouldn't believe what I found. I found this very interesting. And grass cutter that's a quote I got, is variously known as the marsh cane rat, groundhog, and in Francophone West Africa, the alocode, or incorrectly, the agouti. That's a rodent, not a rat proper. Well, since it belongs to the porcupine family, so in other parts of the world, for instance, in Ga, the language, they call this pin, and also locally known as akrante. So whatever grass cutter does, it's, it cuts the grass, truly. Even as a rodent, it cuts the grass. And if you take that into the political space of Nigeria, you would also understand what grass cutting is about. But this poor rodent, this poor rat, is not in the best of light. It's not a rich rat. It's just an easygoing rat cutting grass and putting all of them, mashed up somewhere to make a very comfortable home for itself and other family members. I still recall, in my last job as a TV anchor, this story was trending about, a very big politician in Nigeria, the secretary to the government of the Federation of Nigeria, whom a lot of people say is a bosom friend. Hey, come. We're talking about very good friends with the president. For some, they tell you that sometimes when they go see them, you get to see both of them, even though he's a good Christian and the president a good Muslim. They sit together on the mat, they eat together, and they do stuff together. So how all of that definitely will play out is something that we're talking about today. So Babachir Lawa, a man of God, and the president, a Muslim, they've been best of friends. For some others who really don't know Babachir Lawa, because of the name and because he's from the north of the country, they mistakenly think that, hey, come on, he's a Muslim. No, he's a Christian. The president is a Muslim. A good example of two friends who really can live together irrespective of their irrespective of their religious, leanings, thinking, ideals. They're best of friends. So it came to pass that there was this contract. Now, not the pork grass cutter we highlighted earlier on. We're talking about humans who were given contract to cut the grass. So whatever that thing, means for the small rodent wasn't the same for the individual. So we saw a whole lot. Now wait for the amount. 250 million naira. So that's the grass cutting secretary to the government of the Federation, David Babachir Lawa. Now he got all of that, and you can also put this side by side with the 15 billion naira that was found in the highbrow Ikoyi area of Lagos. Aha! Perhaps that's why the second man was also mentioned on the suspension list. That's the Director General of the Nigeria Intelligence Agency, the man called Ambassador Ayode Oke. Well, according to that statement that came out of the presidency, by the way, what am I saying? Who's the presidency? What's the presidency? Sometimes we use words, and some other times when someone tries to ask for clarification and clarity, we just realize that such words don't have proper meaning. Reminds me of my philosophy class in Uniben, philosophy of language. Whatever that means now doesn't really fall into place when we talk about grass cutting, but it does fall into place when someone asks the question, who is the presidency? Now, put all of that in the mix. You have Ambassador Oke and you have Babachir, all of them, or rather both of them, making that list. And Babachir has been asking the question, who is the presidency? Aha. Now, I don't know what the presidency is or who the presidency is, but what I know is that there was some grass somewhere, whether someone cut it or whether we got the rodent out of Accra, Ghana, or out of Nigeria to come cut the grass. We don't know. But again, they started having definitions. Back and forth. I said, okay, on my last TV job as an anchor, I still recall I did, try to treat this, boiling issue at that point in time, asking questions, and we did also try to reach out to Mr. Lawal and his team to come give their side of the story. And we started hearing stories about the kind of weeds they were talking about. Not this, it was that. Hey, come on. But it did happen. But one other thing, it was really, really magical that happened then. The president was silent, and out of the blues, because the president is human, he took ill, or he wanted to do a better checkup, on his health, and he moved out of the country. He was in the UK. Just when he left for the UK for his treatment, there was a letter, just in case you've forgotten, a letter purportedly, that's another word I don't like. Well, anyway, a letter came out, and that letter was a clearance that Mr. Babachir has been cleared by who? By the presidency, even though now someone is also asking, who is the presidency? But at that point in time, a letter came out clearing the man of any kind of misdemeanor, corruption, any kind of allegation, any kind of grass-cutting issue, Oh, poor rodent. I just don't understand why that rodent's name will be taken by, 250 million naira. But it's all the same. There was a clearance, there was a clean bill of health for Mr. Babachir, and everyone started asking question, how come that this letter, came out? How come it came out, rather, just when the president was away? Question number one. Does this also show a kind of connection or semblance to what happened when our former president, Umar Yar'Adua, God bless his good soul, while he was ill, and back and forth we started hearing about so many other papers signed by him, not by him. Anyway, there was a clearance. So, now that we woke up, getting to look at my front page now, I really can't understand if that letter was truly signed, why now the president is doing this. Because he ordered an investigation now, at the end of the day, into the allegations of violations of law and due process. Now, it's not me talking now. It's a presidency that we don't know who the presidency is or what. So he wants that investigated, and that's, the allegation was leveled against the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, Mr. Lawal, a bosom friend of the president. Let's always situate that so that we understand exactly where we're headed. So we're talking about the award of contracts under the Presidential Initiative on the Northeast. Now, for those who don't know the Northeast, that's one region of the country, that's of Nigeria, that has truly gone through a whole lot. It has seen, one of the worst cases of, displaced persons, almost 2 million displaced in a state alone out of that region. Now we're talking about Borno State. Now we've seen what the governor has been doing. Kudos to the governor in trying to rebuild and rehabilitate, reintegrate, get those people back into the society. But that's not the case now. So everyone thought something was going to be, for those people. There was a contract. Presidential initiative is an initiative from the presidency. Oh, God, we should find another word. But anyway, from the presidency, then a known presidency came up with this initiative to help them. So the acronym was PINE, P-I-N-E. So they moved on. So also, that same letter that came out today from where, also talks about that large amount of foreign and local currencies by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission that was found in a residential apartment. For those who never knew what or where Osborne Towers is in Ikoyi, now they understand that, very highbrow, sweet-smelling place that perhaps has more money than the Nigerian, banker. Now we're talking about the CBN. But now someone quickly said, hey, wait a minute, hold it right there. That's my money. And if you're saying that's your money, you must be really, really sure what you're talking about before you lay claim to that amount of money. And the man who's been talking is Ayoke. So he's the Director General of the Intelligence Agency in Nigeria. He came out boldly to say that's his money for the agency and they wanted to use it for covert operation. And you recall on Political Stew we had talked about what covert operation is. If you go to the books and you try to pick up, find meanings into some of the words that have been used to describe the grass cutting issue and also to describe the monies found in Ikoyi, you will be amazed that those words and meanings actually, differs from what you already know. But he was very quick to say that's his money. Good man, because a lot of people were running away, even though a lot of names, a River State, claiming the money, and also dropping the name of his former governor. The former governor saying, hey, I'm taking you to court if you don't retract because you're trying to smear my name. And the political parties in the state, the PDP, the APC, all of them, talking about that same money. So everyone's been talking about the ownership. No, it's yours, it's not mine, it's yours. It got to be yours. It's got to be something about 7A, 7B, that number, no number. And everyone, on and on, never-ending claim, to that money. But there's just one man who's just been standing tall, saying, that's my money, it's not yours. No one really can hold that, against me. But, oh my God, I've been thinking really about this whole thing. But again, a lot of people will also remember how this is playing out and what exactly this will mean for all of us and to all of us in the fight against corruption. And for many others, again, they still think that this is something that the government of the day should really be quick about. I've been having talks with some of my, legal minds and friends, and they also think that the concern here is, setting up a committee from the same executive arm to investigate the two. Can you beat that? Don't forget, it's still the executive arm that gave him clean bill while the president was away. They got a letter, and they did say, Mr. Lowell, you are as sparkling clean as, sparkle. And nothing ever happened. Perhaps I think the president should also add to that. Find out who exactly wrote that letter. Did he actually sign the letter? Was that letter from the president? Mr. Buhari, you have to find out. Was anyone signing those letters on your behalf? All right, now you're getting very close. Now, so for those lingo minds, they think that this is really not quite right, that the executive arm is also investigating, its own. A judicial panel to sit in public is the way to go, they argue. And, we may be regaled, with latter-day stories of how the two of them or one of them is not at fault, But, this is also the usual direction of in-house committees that do not conduct their investigations in public. It's always shrouded somewhere, in the dark, in secrecy, but I smell a deliberate image laundering move here by the presidency. I think we can use the presidency now because there's nothing as the presidency. People don't even know the meaning of presidency. If Mr. Lawal doesn't know presidency, who am I not to also use the same word as some kind of word I don't understand what exactly it means? So I can conveniently say I smell a deliberate image laundering move by the presidency, and I would like to be proved wrong for the interest of humanity. So the suspension is good on the face of it, but the lack of transparency in the mandate and sitting of the committee may be a minus. Did I just say a minus? No, wait a minute. The man heading that committee is another man that many Nigerians will vouch for. That's the vice president. But again, how did these two people come together? President Buhari and Vice President Oshibajo. These are people a lot of Nigerians have immense respect, for. And they just say these two are men of integrity. Now that he's heading that, perhaps we're likely to see an end in sight to all of this. So this, I think I should fear nothing. I should fear nothing on this. I should be excited about it. I should be excited and see what the three-man committee comprising the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice and the National Security Advisor, headed by the Vice President, is likely to come up with on this one. When they do come up with anything, that's when we'll come back again and talk about this on Political Stew. But I still don't understand why Babachir Lawal would be, asking that question, who is the presidency? Laughing it off as something that a lot of people really don't understand. Meeting journalists and asking them in, such questions when he should be giving answers to the journalist. Who is the presidency? In quote, that's from Mr. Lawal. So, forgetting that he's been suspended for over his alleged complicity in the mismanagement of funds meant for the presidential initiative on Northeast. Asking that question, we also pose the question back to the suspended Secretary to the Government of the Federation by asking him what he means by that. The exchange in full, according to journalists, and even the cable reported that. The reporters went, "Your suspension has just been announced. How will you react to the development?" And Mr. Lawal goes, "Who announced it?" The reporters, "The presidency." He goes, "Then ask them, why are you asking me? Who is the presidency?" Reporters go, "Have you been informed of your suspension?" He goes, "By who? About what? What about you? Have you been informed?" The reporters, they go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "By who?" And they come back, "By the presidency, sir." And he goes, "I have not seen it. I should have been given. I have not seen the press release, so I cannot comment on it." And the reporters continue, "It is currently trending online. Are you doubting the authenticity of the statement?" He has answers. "I have not seen it." tell us the outcome of your meeting with the vice president. And he goes, I'm always here. I always meet the vice president. I used to come here even before I was made SGF. Hashtag friend of the president. So it goes beyond all of this. He's always been there even before coming into office. Now we're talking about suspension. Whatever that will translate into is another thing that many people will wait and hope to see. But I think, quite frankly, this whole brouhaha for a lot of people is something that they still think is a dance that many can't really understand, who's beating the drum, what kind of rhythm is coming out of that, and who the dancers are. But if you look at it very, very well, looking at the suspension of the SGF and the Director General of the NIA, what really comes to mind for some others is that probably this is fight against corruption, and perhaps also the fight can be viewed as not being selective after all. Don't forget, Mr. Lawal is the president's friend, and if anyone is, dropping the axe on his friend, it means, hey, come on. Perhaps maybe the fight or the change everyone expected from President Buhari is finally here. Better late than never, as they say. So, the president is about now, perhaps, about to actualize his submission at inauguration. He belongs to nobody. He belongs to everybody. So, Mr. President, if truly that is what we're saying, well done, sir. You're welcome. We're giving you the dab. Dabbing for the president all the way. But let's wait and see how this unfolds and see if truly this is going to be a big plus for the president. Don't forget that it was just only recently that the president's ratings started to inch up a little, haven't dropped significantly. So with this, in the next few days, I am so certain that his rating would have, skyrocketed, and and see how that moves into something that a lot of people would truly want to see. In all of this, one thing comes to mind, and that is what the president, should also find out. I hate to go back to it, even though I touched on it a while ago, and it has to do with that letter. Specifically, it was dated January 17th this year to the Senate, exonerating the SGF. We need to know if truly that was from the president. We need to know who signed it. We also need we here, the Nigerian people. We also need to know what has changed, what informed this sudden, change. What did they find out? What did they see to have perhaps cancelled that letter exonerating him? If you come back to the issue of Ikoyi, when the Director General did say that was for covert operation, everyone thought that the president had, his seal on that. And don't forget that this is not the first time we're getting to see so many things. Agencies within the presidency, presidency, here I come again. Within the executive arm, coming up with so many things without anyone knowing. Don't forget, the DSS had this letter, this damning letter on the chairman of the EFCC without the president's knowledge, without the NSA knowing. So now the NIA is also having that huge amount of money somewhere without also the presidency knowing, without the executive. Let's leave the word presidency for Babachir to define. So what exactly is happening within the executive arm? If agencies can't, pass proper information amongst themselves, or if they can't brief the president, to the extent that sometimes we get to hear all of these, maybe within the National Assembly, within the Senate, online, news media, bloggers, traditional, journalists. Hey, come on. Hey, that means there's something really, really wrong somewhere. Now, I think the focus should go back to the president. And the president, now that he's doing what he's promised the people he was going to do, because this is truly the first time we're getting to see something similar to that statement of him not belonging to anyone, belonging to everyone. And the first person that is beating the dust is his bosom friend. Wait a minute, this is just suspension. Is there any likelihood that he will be reinstated? He will be cleared? Has anyone been, appointed to stand in for him while this investigation, continues? By the way, it's just 14 days they've given to this three-man committee to come up with something and tell the nation what exactly this is about. But in the fight against corruption, there's something that we must be asking ourselves concerning monies. Is either monies found in Kaduna, is either monies found in Lagos, is either monies found somewhere. By the way, I think fake news has really done damage to us on this whole findings. Just in case you saw those pictures that were, that went viral concerning, huge, find. We're talking about monies, found in cemeteries. That's not Nigeria. That never happened. Those pictures with the superimposed, pictures of members of the EFCC, the Anti-Graft Agency, that's not truly from Nigeria. But it shows the ingenious ingenuity ways and very smart ways many people have been, keeping monies somewhere. Perhaps we all should start looking for treasures. We all should be treasure hunters and looking for monies. Nigeria will be in the news, in the days to come. Many really will be asking questions, what exactly is happening. The opposition is asking questions, and also the opposition is even happy about what exactly is happening. An opposition member, one of them has, a statement out to say, Mr. President, well done on this. And we're talking about, Deji Adeyanju, that's the former director of the PDP New Media Directorate. I'll give you a quote. He says, I want to commend President Buhari for suspending NIA Director General over Ikoyi loot. Guy is a thief. He diverted campaign funds of GEJ for personal use. End of quote. I think, number one, it's really wrong for anyone to call anybody a thief here until the courts, can prove that. But again, with statements like this, he diverted campaign funds of GEJ for personal use. What comes to mind now is more or less like a subtle or unconscious confession. That is what politics has become. I have had cause to ask people on, live television about campaigns, how, monies are, gotten to drive and run campaigns for political parties, for individuals. Till this moment, we don't know how these things are done. We saw an attempt by the People's Democratic Party then on live television, people contributing, people donating. And still, again, sometimes some of those funds can't be traced properly, to how they were made by those who were donating them. If these monies are actually campaign funds, it tells a story of a nation of people who dip their hands perhaps in the nation's, treasury to prosecute elections. So whoever is on the saddle, can reach out or dips, in and, withdraw as they like. I'm hoping that all of that will change as we move towards 2019. And I'm also hoping that the way and manner this is really going, many people will understand that maybe the fight has truly started. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what comes out of it. Let's see what the vice president will be able to do on this. So let's see what the vice president can find with his team on this, so that Nigerians will have this renewed trust for the government again. As they say, better late than never. And finally, this is upon us. But I still think that this is something that should also be extended to other party members. Many have been mentioned. They know who, and they also know what has also, been coming out of the opposition, specifically the governor of Ekiti State, which sometimes you must also listen to the opposition in all of this. He's slammed the government for setting up that three-man committee, which on political stew, we did say it doesn't really sound right, to investigate that crime, sidelining the EFCC. That's according to Governor Fayose. He also thinks that the anti-graft agency and the DSS should have been involved. Well, he also wondered why the APC unleashed the EFCC and the DSS on opposition figures and judges under investigation while setting up a committee to investigate its officials accused of corruption. So he wants to see the same move by the DSS and the FCC against some opposition members. Same move should be, made towards the suspended secretary to the government of the federation. He didn't stop there. He taunted the president, saying that the president is becoming, an embarrassment to Nigerians with what he called the macabre dance of shame in the fight against corruption. So he wondered why the same president that wrote a letter to the Senate, you recall we had also complained about that letter, the presidency will do Nigerians well, by talking about that letter, if truly that letter came out of the presidency. Now we will not go with anyone about who or what the presidency is. We know where the presidency is, what the presidency stands for, and who the president is. Once upon a time, the secretary to the government of the federation could well be a member or one or part or parcel of what you call the presidency until the suspension hit him. By the way, we understand that the suspended Director General of the NIA was also trying to gain access to see the vice president, but access denied. That's a word that is so, sweet when it comes to issues like this. When access has been denied, you know what that means. You just goofed. You just got kicked. You got burnt. And those are some of the things we're seeing. But quite an interesting aspect here that some people haven't had time to look at, and it has to do with what Nigerians are saying. I'll look at what many Nigerians are saying on this, and the issues range from trust, faith, for some others, they say, finally, the president is listening to the voice of the masses to do what is right and not tarnish the reputation of his government because of some individuals. If we talk about some individuals, does this also remind us of that famous speech by the Vice? No, come on. By the First Lady. Yeah. We realized that after that talk by the First Lady, we didn't see her say much again. Never again. After she came out to say, Mr. President, my husband, I don't think I'm going to give you my support if you continue like this, because this whole thing is getting really, really crazy and out of hand. Because you know how we all started this whole thing. And now you wait. What you do is that you allow people to run the affairs of the country or run the office for you on your behalf. And these people are just small in numbers. These are the cabals. And what did we get? We just realized that, hey, come on, she should be cooking us a meal somewhere in the kitchen. Yeah, that's the Vice. No, that's the First Lady. I keep thinking the First Lady is the Vice to the President. It's just my head. I think it's just not acting right today. Because why should it act right when people keep finding monies and, somewhere, stashed somewhere, and some people somewhere cutting grass and people working, getting burnt, working non-stop, and then they don't get close to that, and you just cut the grass, or you don't cut the grass, you just put a pen to paper that you're going to cut the grass, and whether you cut it or you don't cut it, something comes in, that's a cut to you. Hey, come on, who cuts the cut? Who gives it? Hey, come on. Someone should tell me where to cut the grass. I've never liked grass cutting. I recall going to an all-boys school. Okay, now I'm going to mention my school. An all-boys school, Western Boys High School. And every class had an orchard attached to it. So if you had this orchard, it is the duty of the class to maintain that orchard every time it is, time for us to tend the garden, tend the field. Yeah. And once I recall, I didn't go to school on that day. I haven't left the boarding school because you became a day student. And my dad asked why, and I told him that there was a term for it. There was going to be labor, and he said, "Hey, come on! If everyone's stayed at home, who's going to do the work? Who's going to do the grass cutting?" If I knew that grass cutting was going to be 250 million naira today, oh my God, I should have gone ahead to cut grass in my high school then. So, we're closing Political Stew today, asking the question, because I'm really, really depressed. And I know sometimes when you talk about things like this, you get really, really depressed. I'm depressed, and I'm really, really angry at the same time, and I'm asking the question. Before the question, I'm saying, President Muhammadu Buhari, well done. Well done, sir. Well done. You did it. Congratulations, finally. You're the man. But you have to really show us that you're the man. We have to know if you signed that first letter telling the nation that Babachir Lawal was clean. We'd like to know what you saw and who made you make that statement, if truly that was your signature. And if that wasn't you, perhaps maybe someone is keeping that, scene from you. We want to know who's impersonating the president, not the presidency. For the NIA DG, we want everything, every question posed to him be made known to the public. Every findings should be made to the people. Because for covert operation, with that amount of money, is either he was trying to talk to God, get heaven here in Nigeria, or he was just trying to buy the nation over and become the owner of Nigeria. Whatever they were trying to do, I'm quite sure he was not alone. And if anyone is saying those are campaign funds, we also should find out. But again, if they belong to someone and it's the person's personal money, because we just realized that we have so many people who have some kind of money in Nigeria, they're so rich, super rich, then we just tell them, well done, you've really worked hard. I've been talking. Time for me to have this wonderful break and ask if truly we're ready to fight corruption, if truly we're ready to get out of all of this mess, if truly we're ready as a people to see an end to all of this, if truly we're all ready to join in the fight against corruption. If you're ready, it looks like we're all ready. Let's see how we push this for Mr. President. Let's see how we make this work for everyone. Let's see who exactly are those digging up something somewhere in case you don't have money to buy a whistle. On Political Stew, next time we come here, we'll be giving out free whistles to everyone who is interested in blowing the whistle. I'm out on Political Stew. You take good care of yourself. It's been a depressing time talking about money's everywhere and nowhere in Nigeria. I'm out.